Good day Dr. Rui and Dr. Salmi. We hope you at your best and safe during this MCO, as we're getting adjusted to the new norm in our daily lives. We're here to bring you the review and findings of ethical issues and sustainability development in fashion industry. Please allow us to continue. At first, this video presentation is the hard work of 5 team members. Our team consists of Gayatri, Kayatri, Sajrika, Hazelina, and Munice Warren. Let's move to our core findings. Is the fashion industry moving towards sustainability, and is considered as an ethical industry in this era of globalized world? While deep diving into this topic, a lot of effort being taken by certain brands to have a more environmental friendly and sustainable clothing line with ethical human concept to move ahead in their own space of competitive market. The video looks at the custom-made concept to avoid wastage, and use recycled products such as pineapple leaves to produce jackets as to proof that the edible items could be modified into wearable clothing and indeed a fashionista in making. While looking in a global context as well, we couldn't run away from a disastrous revelations that shock over our heart, and consensus that slipped through our daily lives some time back. The pictures you are seeing is the motions that happened in our globalized world. While seeing a more disturbing photos, we choose 3 main ethical topics as our case elaboration with some viewpoints. What is child labor? Child labor is who employ in an industry or business especially when illegal or considered exploitative. In other words, young children who are under the age of 15 working as a full-time worker and working too many hours per day with low wages in an industry. Why does it child labor occurs? Where there is extreme poverty of every family, so children are willing to work cheaply in their younger age and susceptible to being tricked into dangerous and badly paid jobs. Moreover, children are low-skills workers, an easy target without larger voice, so the industries prefer children as a worker. What does the children had to go through? It prevents the children from attending the schools and getting the education that they need, and it's also prevented them from developing their physical, mental and emotional health. Most of them are working tedious hours in factories or industry, but they are not aware if they are being exposed to harsh chemicals in harvesting cotton. In the production of cotton area, children are subjected to work long hours under the blazing heat of sun. With that, the children are never realized that they are actually immersed in multiple chemicals and pesticides. They are made to perform diverse and formidable tasks such as dyeing clothes, sewing, cutting and trimming, folding and moving packing garments of clothes. The work they do in a fashion industry can be dangerous and hazardous to their physical being and thus might stunt bodily growth as well. Environmental degradation. A fashion industry impacts the environment in many ways, and there are many elements that needs to consider if we would like to live in an eco-friendly world. That leads to question on how the fashion industry assist in preserving the sustainability of the environment. The fashion industry is the second most polluting industry in the world, and at the same time the impacts are also not halt on the planet. One of the biggest environmental pollution is water pollution. According to the researcher, 20% of water waste pollution comes from the fashion industry because of the chemical usage of lead, mercury, arsenic, and other very harmful chemicals are often in textile wastewater, and additionally most of the industry used to treat fabric to use dyeing fabric, so it impacts the people on planet, and it's deeply impacted those in the local environment, and of course it's carried into the ocean and distributed across the world. Chemical waste is the second impact that we're going to talk about today. 23% of all chemicals used are from the fashion or textile industry, and those are give big impact to those workers in terms of pesticides, and community in general. That pesticides getting to the air or chemicals are dumped into the river, and affect food and water supply to local communities and event killed aquatic animals. Moreover, those chemicals in the fabrics will impact our skin and takes into the chemicals and affects consumers around the world. Next impact is microplastic pollution, which getting towards ocean. So, the fashion industry releases 190,000 tons of textile microplastics into the ocean every single year. Microplastics are pieces of process that comes up in the clothing that made of synthetic materials like polyester. Every time when wash the cloths, those mixed up into the washer and eventually make their way into the ocean. So washing the materials, which are made up of 72% of synthetic materials, has a huge negative impact for ocean life and also for us because we consume the food and water. We all have grown in a society that on skinny body and the mentality have been set from small as part of beauty regime. Once we seen any chubby person, we tend to classify as fat and isolate them. Models in fashion industry often comes in from a size 0 with very skinny pencil body. Girls, especially young teen, are hooked with mindset of having that body as the ideal body figure. This often comes out as an unhealthy mindset of not loving your body. There's much statistics and studies shown this trend, which results in not only unhealthy eating habits but also leads to suicidal thought. Every issues that is faced by the fashion industry can be solved gradually with the proper implementation. We have a few recommendations for the issues that we just look into. For child labor issues. Most countries that contribute to the industry are the third world nations. To have a control mechanism, a more strict regulations from United Nations as example to put mere pressure could lower down the percentage. More civilized countries could play a role in implementing more strict rules for each import criteria or even audit mechanism as part of check and balance method. For the environmental issues. For every production of clothing, tons of waste chemicals been used and released in the environment. The result, more damaged ecosystem in certain countries. Stephen Leahy from The Guardian quote that 85% of the daily needs in water of the entire population of India would be covered by the water used to grow cotton in the country. In contradiction, 100 million people in India do not have access to drinking water. How we could change this is by using materials which is recycled, for example linen and recycled fibers. These materials use less consumption of water and could be an alternative source of product materials. Organic fibers also is another source of raw materials, and nowadays there's certain brand that uses them in their daily manufacturing. What can be done to curb the body shaming issues? As the society looks up to skinny body as the ideal weight, the model body shape is rather been dreamed by most growing young girls. The unhealthy mindset shall lead to low self-esteem, and can lead to body shaming by peers. How this leads to fashion is that, the body figure being labeled in most stores, and mass production is involved. This can cause the wastage of production, as most women or human have their own body figure, and in order to move out of the concept, custom made of certain design can be opted. There's fashion show in Europe that's emphasis on treating each individual as they are and not concentrating on mass production. However, consumers must see this as a new norm that can be adopted rather than fixing each dress into themselves and strive to be in certain body size.